She was married to him legally. But so was the woman next door. In a quiet luxury estate in Lagos, two women discovered they shared the same husband. And that discovery changed everything. Estate of Greenwood Heights, behind tall white fences and whispering palm trees, two women lived strangers to each other, yet bound by a secret neither of them saw coming. One was Zuri and Liora, a soft-spoken interior designer with eyes that held both calm and curiosity. The other was Liora, a confident events planner whose laughter could fill a room and silence rumors before they began. Both were beautiful in different ways. Both were married. And both had no idea that the man they loved was the same man. It was a warm Saturday morning when Zuri and her husband, Kaylin Ofori, moved into House 8. Kaylin, charming, tall, and always well-dressed, was a businessman who spoke softly but carried an air of quiet authority. He kissed Zuri on the forehead as the movers carried their boxes. "Welcome home, my love," he said, smiling. Zuri smiled back, clutching the keys he had just handed her. It was everything she dreamed of: peace, love, and a fresh start. But peace has a way of hiding in silence before chaos finds it. Across the street, Liora stood by her window, sipping coffee. She saw the moving truck pull up, saw the young couple laughing as they carried boxes, and smiled. New neighbors, she whispered to herself. Her husband, Kaylin, had left early that morning for a business meeting. She didn't know he'd gone to pick up his other wife. For weeks, life in Greenwood Heights was quiet. Zuri would wake early to cook breakfast, sometimes catching her husband leaving before dawn. He said he was managing two offices, one in Lekki, one in Victoria Island. It sounded believable. Until one night, she called him at 8 p.m. He didn't answer. Then at 9. Then 10. At midnight, her phone finally buzzed. Kaylin sent her text, "Sorry love, long meeting. Don't wait up." Zuri tried to believe him. But her heart whispered what her mind refused to say: something was wrong. Meanwhile, across the street, Liora was complaining about that same meeting. "Always working late," she muttered, tossing her phone aside. You'd think after 2 years of marriage, he'd want to be home sometimes. Her cousin, Tomiwa, laughed. "Girl, you married a CEO. They don't sleep, they multiply excuses." Liora chuckled, but deep down, she was tired of the loneliness, the lies, the perfectly practiced love. On a Sunday afternoon, the estate hosted a neighborhood brunch. Zuri wore an Ankara dress and carried a tray of small chops. Liora arrived late in a white jumpsuit, bold and confident. Their eyes met at the buffet table. There was instant warmth and something else neither could name. Liora said, "You must be new here." "I'm Liora." "Zuri, yes." "Z. My husband and I just moved into House 8. Liora, smiling, "Oh, we're neighbors then. I'm in House 4. They exchanged numbers. They didn't know that conversation marked the beginning of their shared heartbreak. A few nights later, Zuri couldn't sleep. She scrolled through Liora's Instagram, admiring her event designs and perfect captions. Then she froze. A photo from 2 months ago. A familiar man, smiling beside Liora, hand on her waist. Her husband. Kaylin. Her hands trembled. She zoomed in. Maybe it was someone who looked like him. But that wristwatch, the one she bought him for their anniversary, glittered in the frame. She dropped her phone. Her heart raced. No, it can't be. Zuri sat up till dawn, staring at that photo. By morning, she made up her mind. She would not cry. She would find out the truth. The next evening, Kaylin said he was going for a client dinner. Zuri smiled sweetly. "All right, love. Don't stay out too late." The moment his car left the compound, she grabbed her keys and followed. Through the traffic, through winding streets, till he parked at a familiar estate. Greenwood Heights. But not their side. The opposite gate. Zuri parked quietly and watched him step out, walk straight into House 4. Her heart broke in slow motion. It wasn't just a suspicion anymore. It was truth, living, breathing, and sleeping across the street. She didn't scream. She didn't call him. She just whispered. "So this is who you really are." 2 days later, Zuri gathered her courage and walked to House 4. Liora opened the door, smiling until she saw Zuri's face. "We need to talk. It's about your husband." Liora, my husband. She frowned. Who are you talking about? Zuri said, Kaylin Ofori. Silence. Lyra's hand fell from the doorknob. The color drained from her face. Liora whispering, you're lying. Zuri trembling, I wish I was. She handed Liora a photo, the wedding picture. Same man. Same ring. Different bride. Liora sat down slowly, tears filling her eyes. He told me he was divorced. Zuri closed her eyes. That was the day the truth broke them both. But what started in pain would soon turn into something far more dangerous. Because Zuri and Liora were not the type of women to stay broken. Liora, you said you lived in house 8. Zuri said yes. Then he's been sleeping between us, like a man with two hearts. Zuri, no. Like a man with no soul. They looked at each other, two strangers connected by betrayal. That night, they made a silent promise. They would not fight over him. They would destroy him. By morning, grief had turned into something sharper, resolve. Zuri sat by her kitchen counter, untouched cup of tea before her. Every memory now felt poisoned, his laughter, his gifts, even the scent of his cologne on the couch. Her phone buzzed. Liora, we need to talk. Today. They met in Lyra's backyard. Both women wore sunglasses, as if hiding from the sun and from shame. I didn't sleep. Zuri, neither did I. Liora bitterly, do you think there are more of us? With a man like Kaylin? I wouldn't be surprised. They both laughed, not from joy, but from exhaustion. That laughter was the first spark of their alliance. They sat with cups of coffee between them. Zuri said, we could fight. Curse each other. Call families. Ruin ourselves. Liora replied, or? Zuri, or we make him wish he never played us. Liora looked up, eyes fierce, shoulders squared. You mean revenge? Zuri, no, justice. The kind that doesn't use blood or bullets. The kind that makes him lose what he values most. Liora smirk, control. They shook hands. 2 wives. 1 mission. Over the next few days, Zuri and Liora secretly dug into Kaylin's life. They shared files, receipts, and stories connecting dots that never made sense before. Zuri discovered that the company Kaylin claimed to own wasn't his. Liora found out that the house she lived in was registered under Zuri's name. And worse, there was another woman's name on one of his business documents, Kaisa Madhu. Zuri staring at the document, whose Kaisa? Liora may be his secretary, Zuri or his next victim. That Friday, Kaylin came home earlier than usual. He walked into Zuri's house carrying flowers. Kaylin smiling, you've been quiet lately. Everything okay? Zuri forcing a smile, just tired. Kaylin, I was thinking, maybe we travel next month. Just us. Zuri looked up slowly. Her lips parted, she almost asked, us? Which one of us? But she stopped herself. Because she wasn't ready for confrontation, not yet. She needed him to think she was still blind. So she kissed his cheek and whispered, that sounds perfect. He smiled. But her eyes were cold. Liora had an idea. If we're going to bring him down, we need proof. Real proof. She placed a small hidden camera in her living room, disguised as a decor ornament. 2 days later, she sent Zuri a clip. In it, Kaylin sat on her couch, speaking on the phone. Kaylin in the video, she's clueless. Once I get the funds from her project, I'll tell her I'm traveling. Then I'll move the money through Kaisa. Zuri froze. Funds. Project. Her heart pounded. He was planning to drain her design company account, the one she had given him access to. Zuri furious, he's stealing from me. Liora, and he's using me to do it. Zuri, then let's make him finish the job, but on our terms. They crafted a plan. Zuri pretended to trust Kaylin, smiling, cooking, laughing. Liora played the loving wife too, sending him sweet texts and seductive selfies. Neither woman mentioned the other. They wanted him relaxed. A week later, Kaylin mentioned a business trip to Ghana. He asked both women for money separately. Liora transferred 2 million Nigerian nairas. Zuri pretended to transfer 5 million Nigerian nairas but redirected the money into a controlled dummy account. He thought he had fooled them. But they were the ones holding the strings. Was late at night when Zuri's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Zuri, hello? A female voice. Is this Mrs. Zuri Ofori? Zuri, yes. Who's speaking? This is Kaisa. I work with your husband. I think you should know. He's in trouble. Zuri's blood ran cold. Zuri asked what kind of trouble. He owes people money. Serious money. And they're coming for him. Before Zuri could respond, the line cut. She stared at the wall, confused, angry, scared. She forwarded the number to Liora. Liora, if she's calling now, it means Kaylin's empire is crumbling. Zuri, good. Let it burn. 2 nights later, they met again, same backyard, same wine glasses, same determination. Zuri, he thinks he's using us. But soon, he'll realize we've been using him. What if he tries to run? Then we'll make sure there's nowhere to run to. They smiled, clinked glasses, and made a vow. From that moment, they were no longer victims. They were partners. And Kaylin was about to face the other wives. But what neither of them knew was this. Kaylin's lies ran deeper than love and money. He was hiding something darker, something that would change everything. 3 days after their alliance, Zuri received a brown envelope slid under her door. No name. No return address. Just one word written on it, truth. Inside were photocopies, bank statements, property deeds, and screenshots of email exchanges. All linking Kaylin to illegal fund transfers, fake investments, and offshore accounts. Each document had one strange name at the bottom: Ofori Holdings. Zuri whispering, he told me it was just consulting, not an actual company. At the bottom of the envelope was a note. If you want to know who your husband truly is, look beneath the house. That night, Zuri couldn't sleep. The note echoed in her mind: beneath the house. At 2 a.m., she grabbed a flashlight and tiptoed into the garage. Behind a row of paint cans, she noticed something strange: a small metal hatch on the floor, covered by a rug. Her hands trembled as she pulled it open. A staircase. Leading underground. She descended carefully, heart pounding. The small basement was filled with boxes, each labeled archive. Inside the first box, stacks of fake ID cards, passports, and birth certificates. Every single one had Kaylin's face, but with different names. Zuri murmuring, "Who are you, really?" She took pictures with her phone and ran back upstairs, shaking. Zuri whispering into phone, "Liora, you need to come now." Liora sleepy, "What happened?" Zuri, "I found something. In the basement." Liora arrived minutes later, wrapped in a robe, flashlight in hand. Together, they went down the stairs. Liora looking around, these IDs, they're from Ghana, Kenya, even South Africa. Zuri, he's not who he says he is. Then Liora spotted a locked briefcase in the corner. They forced it open. Inside was a black ledger, pages filled with names, dates, and transactions. Every few entries had one mark beside it, a cross. The next morning, Zuri confronted Kaylin not with screams, but with silence. She set his breakfast table neatly, as usual. When he walked in, she smiled faintly. Zuri asked, "Do you ever get tired?" Kaylin, "Of what?" Zuri replied, "Of pretending." He froze. Her tone was calm, but her eyes were fire. Kaylin laughed, nervous, "I don't know what you mean." Zuri, "You never do." She slid one of the fake passports across the table. He stared at it, then at her. "Where did you get this?" Zuri, "Does it matter? How many names do you have, Kaylin? How many wives?" He swallowed hard, realizing the mask was slipping. Kaylin said coldly, "Be careful, Zuri. You're playing a dangerous game." Zuri leaned forward, "So are you. And I've just learned how to win." He stormed out, slamming the door. Zuri exhaled, tears streaming down, not from weakness, but release. She texted Liora, "He knows we're on to him." Liora's cousin, Tomiwa, was an IT specialist. They brought her in, swearing her to secrecy. "So, you're telling me your husband has fake passports, offshore accounts, and 2 wives?" Zuri, "At least 2. Liora, we need to trace where he moves the money." After hours of digging, Tomiwa looked up pale. Tomiwa said, "You're not going to like this." Zuri asked, "What?" "One of the accounts he uses, it's in your company's name, Zuri. He's laundering money through you." Zuri froze. That meant she could go to prison for his crimes. She whispered, "He's destroying me." Liora, calm her down, not if we destroy him first. They gathered everything, the documents, the photos, the video clips and stored copies in multiple drives. Then they reached out to one person they could trust, Detective Halima Musa, a private investigator Liora once hired for an event scandal. Halima, if what you're saying is true, is part of a major fraud ring. You two could be key witnesses. Zuri, we're ready. Liora, but we want to be part of how it ends. Halima smiled knowingly. Then let's make it public. 2 weeks later, Kaylin invited both women separately to a business gala at a luxury hotel. He didn't know they had already coordinated their moves. Zuri wore emerald silk. Liora wore black velvet. 2 women walking in from opposite doors, like angels of vengeance. The media was there, investors, business partners and Detective Halima, disguised as a guest. Kaylin stood on stage, giving a speech. Success isn't about luck, he said confidently, it's about integrity. Zuri almost laughed. Liora clenched her jaw. Then, right on cue, Halima played the video, the one from Liora's hidden camera on the projector behind him. Kaylin on screen, she's clueless. Once I get the funds from her project, I'll move the money through Kesa. Cameras flashed. Guests turned to stare. Kaylin froze, eyes darting wildly. He dropped the mic. Security moved in. Halima flashed her badge. Mr. Kaylin Ofori, you're under arrest for fraud, bigamy, and identity theft. Later that night, the 2 women sat together on Liora's balcony, overlooking the quiet street where their pain began. Kaylin was gone, taken away in handcuffs. The moon hung low. The air was peaceful again. Liora sipping wine. You think we won? Zuri smile faintly. We didn't win. We healed. And him. Zuri, he'll learn what it feels like to live behind walls. The same way he caged us with lies. They laughed softly, not in mockery, but relief. It had been 3 months since Kaylin's arrest. Zuri's design firm was slowly recovering. Liora had opened a new events agency called Phoenix and Company, symbolizing rebirth. Life was healing. Or so it seemed. Then one morning, Zuri found an envelope slipped under her office door. No name, no stamp. Inside was a single white card with red ink. You took him from me. Now I'll take everything from you. Kesa M. Zuri's hands trembled. She recognized the name instantly. Zuri whispering Kesa. She called Liora immediately. We have a problem. Liora, what is it? She's back. 2 days later, Zuri met a strange woman at a cafe she had called, claiming to have information about Kesa. The woman wore dark glasses and a scarf. You should be careful. Kesa Mardu isn't just a mistress. She's the brain behind Ofori Holdings. Zuri, that's impossible. Kaylin. The stranger interrupted. Kaylin was her pawn. She built the scam, he played the husband. She made him rich, until you two ruined everything. Zuri's chest tightened. What does she want now? Revenge. And trust me, she doesn't forgive easily. The woman stood up, dropped a flash drive on the table, and left. On the drive, footage of Kesa meeting with people in Accra. Arms dealers. Money launderers. Dangerous men. Zuri realized, this wasn't over. This was war. Over the next week, strange things started happening. Liora's office was vandalized, computers smashed, documents shredded. Zuri's clients began receiving anonymous emails accusing her of fraud. The same crime Kaylin was arrested for. Liora furious, she's trying to destroy our names. Zuri, and she's good at it. Just like him. Then one night, Zuri's car brakes failed on the 3rd mainland bridge. She barely survived. The next morning, a single red rose was found on her windshield. No note, just that symbol. It happened on a Thursday. Liora was leaving a late-night event when a black SUV blocked her car. A woman stepped out, tall, elegant, confident. Her lipstick dark red, her voice cold. Kesa said coldly, you must be Liora. I've heard so much about you. Liora stiffly, and you are? Kesa smirked, the woman your husband truly loved. Liora's eyes widened. Kesa circled her slowly. He was mine long before he met either of you. You just became convenient investments. Liora said angrily, you're sick. Kesa smiling, no. I'm brilliant. And I'm going to show you both what happens when you ruin brilliance. She leaned closer, whispering, "Tell Zuri." I said hello. Then she slipped back into the SUV and vanished into the night. Zuri and Liora met with Detective Halima again. Halima Kaisa Mardu disappeared after Kaylin's arrest. If she's resurfacing, she's planning something big. Zuri, she already is. She's framing us. Halima then will set a counter trap. They created a fake online account under Kaylin's name, leaking false information that hinted at where his hidden assets were. If Kaisa was watching, she'd take the bait. 3 nights later, the account was hacked. Location traced Accra, Ghana. "Halima, we've got her," Liora said nervously. "Let's end this." They traveled quietly, posing as investors attending a luxury business forum. Halima came along in disguise. The hotel lobby glimmered with chandeliers, polished marble, and secrets. And there across the bar sat Kaisa Mardu. Laughing, confident, alive. Liora whispering, "That's her." Halima told her, "Don't confront her yet. Let her lead us." Over the next 24 hours, they followed her to a penthouse filled with computers, fake passports, and stacks of dollars. It was the center of her empire. Halima made the call. Interpol moved in quietly. "Kaisa, as she's handcuffed, do you think this ends me?" "You've only awakened me," Zuri replied. "Then sleep, Kaisa. The world's tired of your kind." She smiled coldly. "He loved me, you know. Even in prison, he still writes my name." Her words cut deep, but not enough to break them. Weeks later, news spread. Kaisa Mardu charged with organized fraud, extortion, and attempted murder. Her assets frozen. Her empire dismantled. For the first time, both women felt the weight lift off their shoulders. They returned home to Greenwood Heights quiet, peaceful, reborn. Liora standing by her balcony. "Do you ever think about him?" Zuri smiled sadly sometimes. But not with pain anymore. Just lessons. Liora asked, "And Kaisa?" "Zuri, every empire of lies must fall eventually. Hers did." They clinked glasses again, just like the first night of their alliance. To survival. To sisterhood. They laughed not bitterly, but beautifully. Because sometimes, the women who were broken become the ones who save each other. A year passed. The wounds began to fade, but scars, no matter how well hidden, never truly disappear. For Zuri and Liora, life had finally become peaceful again, or so they believed. Zuri's design company was booming again, her name cleared, her reputation reborn. Liora's events agency had grown across states, hosting luxury weddings and high-profile galas. They'd become silent symbols of female strength in Greenwood Heights. But on an ordinary Thursday morning, Zuri's secretary rushed in holding a brown envelope. "Ma, this came from the prison." "It's from him." Zuri softly. "From Kaylin?" She hesitated before opening it. Her hands shook not from fear, but from curiosity. Inside were 3 things. A short letter. A key. A black and white photo of Kaylin and Kaisa, smiling with a baby girl. Zuri sat down, unfolded the letter, and began to read. "My dear Zuri, if you're reading this, then time has done what my words could not soften your hate. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but there's something you need to know. Not everything you saw was real. Not every lie came from me alone. There's a child. Our child." Zuri's heart stopped. The key opens a safety box at Zenith Bank, Accra. Inside, you'll find the truth about what Kaisa did and why I did what I did. If I could undo it all, I would. But perhaps, you'll understand when you see her. Kaylin. Her eyes blurred with tears. Zuri whispering, "Our child?" Zuri called Liora immediately. They met at her office that evening, storm clouds gathering again over Greenwood Heights. "Liora, you're telling me Kaylin had a child with you?" Zuri scared, he said, "Our child? I don't even remember." Liora puzzled, could it be one of Kaisa's lies? Zuri, "I don't know. But I have to see for myself." They flew to Accra the next morning, this time not as hunters but as seekers of truth. At the Zenith Bank, the manager led them to a small private room. Zuri unlocked the safety box with trembling hands. Inside, several documents. A paternity test. A diary. And a birth certificate. Her blood ran cold. This can't be real. I never had a baby. Liora reading the diary. Wait, he wrote about it. Zuri, he said Kaysa faked your miscarriage. Zuri staring. What? Liora reading softly. You were pregnant after your honeymoon, remember? He said Kaysa drugged you and took the baby while you were unconscious for months and you couldn't remember. Zuri gasped. Memories flooded back, the strange sickness, the confusion, the night she fainted. She had been told she lost the pregnancy. But she hadn't. Her daughter was alive. In the diary's last page, Kaylin wrote, Kaysa took her. I've tried to find her, but she's hidden somewhere in Ghana. She has your eyes, Zuri. Please, if you ever find her, don't let her hate me. Liora placed a hand on Zuri's trembling shoulder. Liora will find her. No matter what it takes. And they did. 3 weeks of searching led them to a quiet orphanage on the outskirts of Accra, St. Miriam's home for girls. There, a caretaker led them to a small classroom where a girl was painting by the window. Her smile was Zuri's smile. Caretaker smiling, that's Kalena. She's been here since she was a baby. Her mother died shortly after bringing her in. Zuri called her softly Kalena. The girl turned. Their eyes met. Time stopped. Kalena, Auntie, you look like me. Zuri voice breaking. I should. Because I'm your mother. The girl blinked, confused, but drawn to her. Then, she slowly ran forward and hugged her. Zuri crying, I found you. I finally found you. Liora tearfully smiling, she's beautiful, Zuri. Weeks later, Zuri adopted Kalena officially and brought her back home to Nigeria. Liora stood beside her during the ceremony as family. Then, one morning, Zuri received a final envelope. It came from the prison again. Inside was a single note, short, written in a shaking hand. Now you've seen her. I can rest. K. A week later, Kaylin died in prison quietly, without fanfare. Zuri didn't cry out loud. She simply held the note close and whispered, Rest, Kaylin. She'll know the truth one day. Months later, Zuri and Liora walked through Greenwood Heights with Kalena skipping ahead of them. Liora smiling, funny how we started. Zuri smiling back, now, I can't imagine life without you. Liora and her. Zuri, she's our reminder that pain can give birth to something beautiful. Zuri turned to her daughter. Zuri narrating softly, maybe one day, she'll ask me about him. About her father, the man who broke 2 hearts and tried to mend them too late. And I'll tell her he was human. Flawed. But his story taught us what love should never be. They reached the estate gates. Kalena ran ahead, laughing, her laughter echoing through the golden light. Sometimes, betrayal is the fire that forges stronger women. Sometimes, pain births purpose. And sometimes, the other wife becomes the sister you were destined to find.